Blizzard, famous for things like StarCraft, Diablo, and World of Warcraft. China, famous for things like Confucius, sweatshops, and sweet and sour chicken. Now I had to watch a whole bunch of videos and read a whole bunch of articles to try and fully understand what was actually going on with this, and hopefully I can condense this down into small bite-sized chunks. Serve with rice. Our story starts in France, 1853, but we'll get to that later. So for now, our story starts online in 2019. Professional esports athlete Chung Nung-wei had just won an esports match of Hearthstone and demonstrated his solidarity with his home country of Hong Kong by saying, which translated from Mandarin means liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age. Now this is the typical slogan of those protesting oppression in Hong Kong. So I suppose our story really starts in February 2019, when the government of Hong Kong proposed a new extradition bill. Extradition bill here meaning an agreement that it will deport Hong Kong resident fugitives to other countries to be trialed by other governments. Which sounds peachy-dory other than the fact that what Hong Kong classes as a felony and what China classes as a felony are wildly different. Subsequently, the people of Hong Kong are pissed. And over the next few months, hundreds of thousands, up to over 1 million Hong Kong's people take to the streets in protest, holding flags, declaring their independence, and just generally exercising their right to be insulted, afraid, and upset, in the face of what they see as another step in the totalitarian tiptoe towards a complete fascist state. Now I'm talking about freedom of speech. For you see, it's not illegal in Hong Kong to say that the president of China resembles Winnie the Pooh. But it is in China, and rightfully so, because he doesn't look like Winnie the Pooh. He looks like that one guy from that YouTube video who cries because his weed is too good. And under this new extradition bill, people could be forcibly removed from Hong Kong, sent to China, stand trial, and serve a sentence for crimes as benign as comparing a complete dictator to a children's cartoon character. Over the next few months, the protests rose and became even more drastic, with the Hong Kong government authorizing the use of tear gas, rubber bullets, and excessive force. Excessive force here meaning shooting a teenager in the chest at point-blank range. So what does this really have to do with video games? Well, Chung Nung-wei, hereby referred to as his username Blitzchung, after his expression in support of the movement in Hong Kong, Blitzchung was immediately stripped of his winnings and was banned from participating in Hearthstone tournaments for the next year. And the two shoutcasters who were interviewing him lost their jobs. Weird. Well, the game Blitzchung was playing was Hearthstone, a heavily Magic the Gathering inspired online card game developed by, shock horror, Blizzard, or more specifically, Activision Blizzard. Remember this. So if we zoom back 150 years, there's like this guy who knew Napoleon probably, and he bought a bunch of France's water and then sold it back to the French, and then over the course of the next 150 years continued to buy and sell stuff, mostly specificizing in media, till eventually he had a company called Vivendi, which then bought Activision and then sold it to Blizzard so that they could be called Activision Blizzard, which is a really bad name because they should have called themselves Blizzactivision. Now, I'm not a finance and business major, and I'm not going to pretend that I know how this works. Feel free to correct me in the comments. But from what I can gather, Vivendi struck some kind of deal with Tencent, a global titan of late-stage capitalism, that ended up with Tencent owning a meager 5% of Blizzactivision. Now, Tencent is a multinational investment holding conglomerate with a market value of 500 billion USD. That's a lot of damage. That makes it like the 8th richest thing on the planet. Richer than McDonald's and a little bit underneath Amazon, Google, and Apple. Now that's the main characters out of the way. And we're down to some facts and some speculation. Fact: Tencent struck a $700 million deal with the NBA in order to stream basketball games in China. Then in October, cancelled the streaming of the games after the manager of the Houston Rockets displayed his support for the Hong Kong protests on Twitter. Fact: the Chinese government banned South Park in an episode that primarily deals with big companies doing business with China. Fact: Tencent owns stocks, shares, and subsidiaries in such an influential range of industries that is legitimately too long for me to list, but includes music production, smartphones, natural resources, robotics, education, banking, real estate, software, space, UAVs, and video games. Video games including PUBG, Call of Duty, Fortnite, League of Legends, and pretty much anything made by Ubisoft, Epic Games, Activision, Blizzard, Riot Games, and fucking miniclip.com. I'm not even joking. So after all this kerfuffle, you know, with kicking Blitzchung off Hearthstone for a year and taking all of his winnings, Blizzactivision releases its formal comment in response to the outrage. And its rebuttal comes in the form of a somber waltz that manages to backpedal and double down simultaneously, stating that Blitzchung knew the rules and broke them, and a post-game interview is no place to exercise your freedom of speech. They state that the specific views of Blitzchung were not a factor in the decision that was made, but I speculate the absurdity of immediately stripping him of his title taking his winnings and banning him from the game for 12 months over what you are saying is essentially talking about something that isn't about video games on a video game stream. But what about the shoutcasters? You know, those two guys who lost their jobs? Well, Blizzard released this statement in a tiny paragraph in the middle of their rebuttal. We hire shoutcasters to amplify the excitement of the game. They elevate the watchability and help the esports viewing experience stay focused on the tournament and our amazing players. They didn't. What is that? That is just a statement on what a shoutcaster's job is. That doesn't wrap anything up. Well, anyway, apparently they got the jobs back, but like in 6 months later, and Blitzchung got his winnings, and he's only banned for 6 months now. Cool, good job, Blizzard. Emerging from this hellscape of a PR nightmare, Blizzard fans are notably a little riled up, and thousands of them are taking to social media with the hashtag #BoycottBlizzard. But for some reason, the subreddit r/Blizzard has become viewable only by invitation. Spooky. And thousands more take to permanently deleting their Blizzard account. Unfortunately, Blizzard seems to have accidentally turned off this feature. Tencent's dark water tentacles appear to spread into all of the darkest places within the video game sphere. And the only thing that I have power to do is to let you guys speculate.